two brothers grew up in the same house, shared the same parents, and attended the same schools. They had access to identical opportunities, chose similar careers, and earned nearly identical salaries throughout their working lives. Yet, at age 65, their paths diverged radically. One brother retired with $14 million in investments, a paid-off home, and complete financial freedom. He spends his winters in Arizona and helps his grandchildren with college costs without a second thought. The other brother retired with just $180,000 in savings, a mortgage with 12 years remaining, and constant financial anxiety. He works part-time at a hardware store just to cover his basic expenses, lying awake at night wondering if he can afford both his medications and his property taxes. Identical genes, identical upbringing, and identical earning power produced two completely different lives. This divergence did not happen in their 20s, when they were both too young and broke to make progress. It did not happen in their 30s, as they built families and careers using similar approaches. And it did not happen in their 50s, because by then, their trajectories were already locked in. This radical split happened entirely in their 40s. One brother made a series of decisions that seemed small at the time, while the other made slightly different choices. Neither realized they were determining the entire shape of their remaining lives. Your 40s represent the most consequential financial decade you will ever experience. This is not because the decisions are harder than in other decades, but because the stakes multiply in ways that are not obvious until it is too late to change course. Today, I am going to show you exactly why this decade carries such outsized importance, the specific decisions that separate a comfortable retirement from a stressed one, and what you can do right now to ensure you end up on the right side of this divide. It all starts with the mathematics of three powerful financial forces that only align during this specific window. The first force is peak earning power. For most professionals, income reaches its maximum between the ages of 42 and 55. While the raises might slow down, the absolute dollars you earn are higher than they have ever been. This means your 40s provide the most raw material for building wealth. The second force is remaining compounding time. At 40, you still have 25 years until retirement, which is enough time for your money to roughly quadruple. By 50, that multiplier drops to 2.5. By 55, it is only 2. Your 40s are the last decade where meaningful compounding is truly possible. Finally, there is expense stabilization. By your 40s, many major costs begin to decline. Children become more independent, and the house you once stretched to afford now fits comfortably in your budget. This creates a potential margin that did not exist in your 30s. The only question is whether that margin flows into your savings or is absorbed by lifestyle expansion. To understand the leverage at play, consider someone who reaches age 40 with $100,000 in savings and earns $110,000 annually. If they save 15% of their income throughout their 40s and 50s, they will accumulate roughly $1.35 million by retirement. However, if they save only 5% during their 40s and then try to catch up by saving 15% in their 50s, they end up with just $780,000. That is a $570,000 gap, despite only 10 years of reduced contributions. The mathematical leverage of time simply cannot be recovered later in life. 5 specific decisions define this decade. The first is housing.
Your 40s often bring an urge to upgrade to a home that reflects your success. However, moving from a $350,000 home to a $600,000 home can increase monthly costs by $2,000. Over 25 years, that invested difference compounds to over $1 million in retirement wealth. The second decision involves vehicles. Trading practical cars for luxury models can cost you between $200,000 and $400,000 in long-term wealth. The third is children's education. Many parents mortgage their own retirement to fund expensive universities for their children, entering their 50s with depleted savings and very little time to recover. Successful families often make the uncomfortable choice of prioritizing retirement contributions while requiring children to utilize scholarships or state schools. The fourth decision is career risk. Your 40s are your last window for significant income acceleration. While it feels safer to stay comfortable at a current job, taking a strategic risk at 43 allows time to recover if things go wrong, whereas waiting until 53 does not. Finally, there is the pressure of lifestyle inflation. Watching colleagues take elaborate vacations or neighbors renovate kitchens creates a social drive to match their spending.
The difference between those who resist this pressure and those who succumb to it typically exceeds $1 million in retirement outcomes. Consider the stories of two couples, David and Christine versus Robert and Jennifer. Both started their 40s with similar incomes and savings. David and Christine upgraded their home and cars and took out large loans for their children's out-of-state tuition. They felt responsible. But by age 65, their $685,000 nest egg left them at risk of running out of money by 82. Robert and Jennifer chose to stay in their modest home, bought used vehicles, and sent their kids to state schools with scholarships. By age 65, they had $1.65 million and a paid-off house, allowing them to travel and live without financial worry. The most striking part of these stories is that both families felt equally satisfied during their 40s. Research shows that lifestyle inflation provides only temporary happiness boosts that fade within 18 months. David and Christine did not actually enjoy their 40s more. They just spent more, permanently constraining their future for a temporary thrill. Regardless of where you are today, you can change your trajectory.
If you are in your 20s or 30s, build habits now to protect yourself from future pressure. If you are entering your 40s, audit every major expense and prioritize retirement security over status symbols. If you are in your late 40s and realize you are on the wrong path, consider radical options like downsizing now rather than later. The psychological trap of the 40s is feeling that you have finally earned the right to live well. But true gratification isn't found in consuming your peak earning years. It is found in converting those years into permanent freedom. The discomfort of discipline in your 40s lasts a decade, but the reward lasts a lifetime. Picture yourself at 70. You could be relaxed, planning trips, and visiting grandchildren without stress. Or you could be anxious, calculating if your check will cover your medicine. Both versions of you are created by the decisions you make between 40 and 50. Your 40s will decide everything. That is not a burden. It is your greatest opportunity. Use it wisely.